Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that is filled with constant noise, constant chatter, constant distractions, there is a power and unspoken strength that lies in silence. And today I want to talk to you about the profound impact that silence can have on your life. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of clarity. It is in silence that we begin to hear the truth, our truth. It is in stillness that we find the answers we have been searching for. Silence clears the clutter in our minds, cuts through the distractions, and provides us with the clarity needed to make decisions that align with our purpose. But this clarity is not just for external decisions. Silence allows us to reflect on our lives, on our actions, on our choices. When was the last time you sat quietly and truly thought about where you are headed? In these moments of reflection, we understand ourselves better. We understand our desires, our motives, and more importantly, we understand the journey we are on. In silence, we learn self-mastery. We often think of mastery as something that requires action, loud demonstrations, and bold declarations. But the most powerful form of mastery is self-mastery. To control your impulses, to govern your thoughts, to hold your tongue when provoked, this is true power. And silence is the space where that power is cultivated. When we speak too quickly, we often speak out of anger or fear. But in silence, we can control our emotions, respond with wisdom, and not simply react. Silence gives us the strength to pause, to make sure our words and actions align with our higher selves, not with the noise of the world. Silence also connects us to something greater than ourselves. When we step into silence, we create space for the divine. In stillness, we tune our hearts to the wisdom of the universe, to the whispers of God, or to that inner voice that guides us. It is in silence that we can hear the voice of purpose, the voice of destiny calling us forward. In the chaos of life, we can often lose touch with that voice. But when we make time for silence, we allow ourselves to reconnect with that higher wisdom, to recharge our spirits, and to find our way back to our true path. And then there is the power of listening. Silence is the language of listening. In our fast-paced world, we are often so eager to speak that we forget the power of truly listening. Listening is not just about hearing words. It is about understanding the heart behind the words, the soul that is speaking, the message that is being conveyed. In silence, we hear more than just sounds. We hear intentions. We hear emotions. And when we listen deeply, we understand. We understand ourselves better, and we understand others more profoundly. Silence is also a weapon of strength. In times of conflict, there is incredible power in silence. It may seem counterintuitive, but sometimes the most powerful response you can give is no response at all. Silence disarms anger, diffuses tension, and allows room for reason. When we hold our tongues, we retain our strength, and we stop reacting to the noise and chaos around us. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a strategic tool, a weapon that, when used with intention, can bring peace, understanding, and resolution. Finally, silence is about respect. In silence, we acknowledge the value of others. We understand that their voices, their perspectives are just as important as our own. Silence is not about silencing others. It is about creating space for them to be heard. It is about honoring their thoughts, their feelings, and their experiences. When we remain silent at the right times, we are not only showing self-control, but we are also showing respect to others. Silence is a powerful tool for building stronger, more respectful relationships. So I challenge you today. Make room for silence in your life. Embrace its power. Use it to find clarity, to reflect, to listen, and to respond with wisdom. Understand that silence is not emptiness, but a fertile ground for growth, for connection, and for peace. In a world full of noise, silence is the freedom we need. It is the space where we can find our true voice, our true purpose, and our true power. Silence, often misunderstood as mere quiet or the absence of sound, is in reality a powerful medium through which clarity emerges. In a world that is constantly bombarded with noise, distractions, and demands for our attention, it is in the moments of silence that we are able to hear ourselves most clearly. The noise of the world often drowns out the subtle whispers of our intuition, the voice of our true purpose, and the guidance we seek in our daily lives. Yet, when we intentionally create space for silence, we allow ourselves the opportunity to listen, to reflect, and to understand with greater depth. Think about it. How often do we feel pulled in a million directions, our minds cluttered with thoughts, emotions, and responsibilities? The noise of our environment, the pressures of work, family, and society can cloud our judgment, making it difficult to discern what is truly important. We find ourselves acting impulsively, reacting to situations instead of responding thoughtfully. In those moments, we may feel disconnected from our deeper sense of self, as though we are lost in a fog of confusion. But when we choose silence, when we intentionally step away from the noise, we create an opportunity for clarity to emerge. Silence allows us to still the storm within, to quiet the chatter that so often leads us astray. It is in this stillness that we can hear the answers we've been searching for, the solutions we've been overlooking, and the truth that we have been avoiding. When we make space for silence, we also create space for introspection. It's through this process of turning inward that we begin to understand not only what is happening in our external world, but also what is happening in our internal world. Our thoughts slow down, and in that quiet space, we are able to examine our feelings, motivations, and desires with a greater sense of objectivity. We begin to see things more clearly, not just the external circumstances, but also the deeper truths that underlie our experiences. In the absence of noise, we become more attuned to the subtle signals that we might otherwise miss. We can hear the deeper desires of our heart, the quiet nudges of our intuition that often get drowned out by the loud demands of the day. In silence, we connect with the core of who we are and what we truly need, not the surface-level distractions that constantly vie for our attention. Silence has the power to strip away the distortions created by our own fears and insecurities. When we are constantly surrounded by external noise, it is easy to be influenced by the opinions of others, by societal expectations, and by the pressures to conform. These external forces can cloud our judgment and obscure our vision. But in the quiet, we are able to connect with our authentic selves. We can hear our true voice, free from the distortions of external expectations. It is in silence that we reclaim our sense of purpose and our direction in life. In essence, silence is not just a passive state of non-action, it is an active force that clarifies our minds and hearts. It enables us to cut through the clutter of our daily lives and focus on what truly matters. It offers us a moment to recalibrate, to realign with our inner truth, and to see the world and ourselves with a renewed sense of understanding. Through silence, we gain the clarity we need to make decisions that reflect our deepest values, our true purpose, and our highest potential. Reflection is one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal, yet it is often overlooked or underestimated. In our fast-paced world, we tend to move from one task to the next without pausing to consider the impact of our actions, the lessons we've learned, or the direction we are headed. But it is through reflection that we gain the insight needed to evolve, to grow, and to truly understand ourselves. Reflection isn't just about thinking back on what has happened. It's about using those moments of introspection to glean wisdom and to better navigate the future. When we reflect, we create the space to assess the journey we've been on. Often we are so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to acknowledge the milestones we've crossed, the progress we've made, and the lessons we've learned along the way. Reflection allows us to pause and look back at our experiences not with regret, but with an open mind, seeking to understand what those experiences have taught us. Whether it's a success or a failure, there is always something to learn, something to take away that can shape who we become. One of the great gifts of reflection is its ability to bring clarity to our present circumstances. It enables us to view our current challenges or successes from a distance, allowing us to gain a clearer perspective on what is truly important. In times of confusion or difficulty, reflecting on past experiences can help us recognize patterns, make connections, and see the bigger picture. By looking back, we can often find the insights we need to move forward with greater confidence and understanding. Reflection also enables us to identify areas in our lives where we may have strayed from our true path. It's easy to get swept up in the busyness of life, following external pressures and distractions without questioning whether we are still aligned with our purpose. But when we take the time to reflect, we can ask ourselves the tough questions: are we living authentically? Are we pursuing what matters most to us, or are we simply going through the motions? Are we serving the people and causes that align with our deepest values, or are we caught in the cycle of chasing things that don't truly fulfill us? In reflection, we face ourselves, our choices, our mistakes, our successes, and from that place of honesty, we gain the self-awareness necessary to improve. Through self-reflection, we grow not only in wisdom, but in character. It gives us the humility to acknowledge where we've fallen short, the courage to change what needs to be changed, and the strength to continue moving forward with a deeper sense of purpose. Reflection helps us to cultivate a deeper sense of responsibility for our own lives, reminding us that we are the authors of our own story and we have the power to rewrite the chapters that no longer serve us. Another profound benefit of reflection is its ability to help us reconcile our past with our present. Too often we carry unresolved emotions, regrets, or wounds from past experiences that influence our actions in the present. When we take the time to reflect, we can process these emotions and experiences, allowing ourselves to heal and release the weight that may be holding us back. Reflection is a process of making peace with the past, understanding that it does not define us, but rather has shaped us into who we are today. It allows us to let go of the past grip on us and free ourselves to move forward with a sense of closure, understanding, and renewed strength. Reflection also opens the door to gratitude. When we look back on our journey, even in the moments of struggle, we begin to see the blessings hidden within those experiences. Often it is in the toughest times that we gain the greatest growth. And reflection helps us to appreciate those moments as part of our process of becoming. It encourages us to recognize the lessons learned, the relationships built, and the personal resilience we've developed along the way. Through reflection, We begin to see our lives not as a series of random events, but as a coherent story of growth, transformation, and purpose. Reflection has the power to shape our future. When we reflect on our past, we don't simply look back for the sake of nostalgia or self-analysis. We look back in order to move forward with intention and clarity. Reflection allows us to ask ourselves, what do I want to achieve moving forward? What changes do I need to make? What strengths do I need to build upon? By reflecting on our past experiences, we can make more informed decisions, take more deliberate actions, and set more meaningful goals. Reflection becomes the bridge between who we were and who we are becoming. It connects the dots between our past experiences and our future aspirations, helping us to take ownership of our journey and steer it in the direction that aligns with our deepest values and vision. In essence, reflection is not just a passive act, it is an active process of self-discovery, growth, and transformation. It is through reflection that we gain the clarity to understand ourselves more deeply, the wisdom to navigate our lives with purpose, and the courage to evolve into the person we are meant to be. When we embrace the power of reflection, we empower ourselves to live more consciously, to learn from our past, and to create a future that is aligned with our truest potential. Silence, when embraced intentionally, is a powerful tool for self-mastery. In a world that thrives on constant stimulation, constant information, constant noise, constant demands on our attention, it is easy to become a prisoner to our impulses, our emotions, and our reactions. We live in a world where everything feels urgent, where every call, every message, every conversation seems to demand our immediate response. Yet, it is in the stillness, in the moments of silence, that we find the ability to truly master ourselves. Self-mastery is not about controlling every external factor in our lives. It is not about dictating every circumstance or forcing outcomes. True self-mastery lies in our ability to control our inner world, our thoughts, our emotions, our responses. And silence is the key to unlocking that power. When we are silent, we give ourselves the chance to pause before reacting. We stop ourselves from simply being led by the impulse of the moment. Instead, we create the space to choose how we will respond. Think about the many times when we act impulsively, when we speak before we think, when we react out of fear, anger, or frustration. These are the moments when we lose control of ourselves, when our emotions take the wheel and we are swept away by the scepter wheel, by the current of our feelings. But in silence, we break that cycle. Silence allows us to separate ourselves from the immediate pull of emotion and to approach situations with greater awareness and intentionality. When we are quiet, we create a moment of separation between stimulus and response. We recognize that we don't have to react right away. We can take a breath, process our feelings, and then choose how to respond. This is self-mastery in its truest form, not reacting automatically, but responding thoughtfully. The power of silence also lies in its ability to calm the mind. Our thoughts are often like a storm, restless, fast-moving, and unpredictable. We can become overwhelmed by our own thoughts, torn between conflicting ideas and uncertain about which direction to take. Silence, however, provides the stillness needed to quiet this mental chatter. When we allow ourselves to sit in silence, we create the space for our thoughts to settle. Just as the surface of a pond becomes clear and smooth when disturbed water settles, so too does our mind when we give it the time and space to calm. It is in this clarity that we find our true direction, free from the noise of confusion and doubt. But self-mastery is not just about calming the mind, it's also about mastering our inner dialogue. Each of us has a voice within us, the voice of self-doubt, the voice of fear, the voice of fear, the voice of judgment, and for some, the voice of criticism. Often this inner voice can be loud, negative, and overwhelming, feeding our insecurities and influencing our behavior in ways that are not aligned with our true potential. Silence is a tool that allows us to quiet that inner voice. When we create space for stillness, we allow ourselves to hear the more empowering voice within the voice that speaks truth, encouragement, and wisdom. This inner voice is often drowned out by the noise of our fears and insecurities, but silence gives it room to rise and be heard. In those quiet moments, we begin to realize that the stories we tell ourselves are often not the truth. Silence enables us to step outside of our self-imposed limitations and see ourselves for who we truly are, not through the lens of fear, but through the lens of possibility. It gives us the opportunity to rewrite the narrative we've been living with, to silence the negative self-talk, and to replace it with affirmations of our worth, our potential, and our capacity for greatness. Silence also helps us to cultivate patience, another key aspect of self-mastery. In a world that demands instant results, we often find ourselves impatient, frustrated, and eager for immediate gratification. Silence teaches us the art of waiting. It encourages us to be present in the moment, to trust in the process, and to resist the temptation to rush ahead. When we sit in silence, we learn that not everything requires an immediate response or action. Some things need time to unfold, and in that time we gain a deeper understanding of what is truly important. Patience is not simply about waiting passively, it's about waiting with purpose, with an understanding that growth and change often take time. Self-mastery through silence also means learning to listen to ourselves, to others, and to the world around us. In silence, we tune into the messages that we may have been overlooking. We listen to the whispers of our hearts, the feelings that we've been too busy to acknowledge, and the wisdom that exists in the stillness of our being. In listening to ourselves, we become more attuned to our needs, our desires, and our boundaries. We learn to hear the things that matter most, and we give ourselves permission to honor them. At the same time, silence enhances our ability to listen to others. It is easy to be distracted when others speak, thinking ahead to what we will say next or becoming consumed by our own thoughts. But true listening requires silence not just in the external world, but in our minds as well. When we listen without judgment, without interruption, and without distraction, we connect more deeply with those around us. We understand their hearts and minds more fully, which in turn strengthens our relationships and our ability to lead with empathy and compassion. Silence as a tool for self-mastery also invites us to embrace discomfort. Often we are afraid of silence because it forces us to confront the parts of ourselves that we try to avoid. In silence, we are left alone with our thoughts and emotions, and that can feel uncomfortable or unsettling. However, it is in these moments of discomfort that we have the greatest opportunity to grow. Silence invites us to sit with our discomfort, to examine it, and to understand what it is teaching us. It is through this process of facing our inner struggles head-on that we develop true strength and resilience. Self-mastery through silence is about creating the conditions in which we can be our best selves. It is about cultivating awareness, emotional intelligence, and intentionality in all that we do. When we learn to master our thoughts, our reactions, and our emotions, we unlock a deeper level of personal power. And silence, as simple as it may seem, is the gateway through which that mastery becomes possible. It is in the quiet moments that we find our true strength. And in that strength, we find the freedom to live our lives with purpose, direction, and peace. In the noise and chaos of our daily lives, it is easy to forget that there is a connection to something greater than ourselves, a divine presence that is always present, always available, if only we take the time to attune ourselves to it. The connection with the divine is not something that can be forced or hurried. It is a relationship that requires stillness, openness, and an intentional turning inward. In the busyness of life, we may search for meaning or purpose outside ourselves, but the deepest connection we seek is often found when we quiet the distractions and listen with a receptive heart. Silence, in its purest form, creates the space for this sacred connection to unfold. When we enter into silence, we create a sanctuary, a space where the noise of the world no longer competes for our attention. In the quiet, we are no longer bombarded by the demands and expectations of others, and we are free from the constant stream of thoughts that distract us from the present moment. This stillness is where we can hear the subtle whispers of the divine, the voice of the universe, or the presence of God, depending on our belief system. It is in the silence that we allow ourselves to be receptive to what is greater than us. We open our hearts and minds not to be filled with answers, but to be filled with peace, wisdom, and insight that can only come from beyond our limited understanding. Often the divine communicates with us in a language that transcends words through feelings, intuition, or moments of deep knowing. Silence helps us become attuned to these messages. Without the constant noise of our thoughts and the distractions of the outside world, we become more aware of the subtle ways in which the divine speaks to us. It may come in the form of a deep sense of peace during prayer or meditation, or perhaps as a quiet realization in the stillness of our being. When we quiet the mind, we create space for divine wisdom to enter, allowing us to see our lives with greater clarity and purpose. Connection with the divine is not just about receiving guidance, it is also about cultivating a relationship. Just as any meaningful relationship requires time, trust, and attention, so too does our connection with the divine. In silence, we come to know the divine not as an abstract concept, but as a personal presence that is deeply intertwined with our lives. This connection is nurtured through our openness to listen, to reflect, and to allow ourselves to be guided. Just as we must silence ourselves to truly listen to others, we must silence the noise of our own minds to truly hear the divine. In the moments of silence, we are reminded that we are not alone in this journey. There is a presence of force, an energy that sustains us, guides us, and watches over us. This awareness can be deeply comforting, especially in times of struggle or uncertainty. The divine is not distant or detached from our experiences. It is intimately involved, present in our joys and sorrows, offering us comfort and guidance in every moment. When we connect with the divine through silence, we come to understand that our lives are part of a greater story, a larger purpose that transcends our individual struggles. Silence allows us to surrender to the divine flow of life, surrender to what is meant to be, and surrender to the trust that we are being guided toward our highest good. In our fast-paced, action-oriented world, we often feel the need to control everything around us. We push, we strive, we work harder, believing that our efforts alone will bring us what we desire. But in the silence, we learn to let go. We realize that there is a greater wisdom at play, a divine intelligence that is working in our favor. Silence teaches us that we don't always need to have the answers or control the outcome sometimes. The most profound action is simply to be still and trust that the divine is orchestrating everything in perfect timing. The connection with the divine in silence also invites us to be present with ourselves, to acknowledge our true nature and purpose. It is easy to get lost in the expectations of society or the demands of others. But silence strips away these layers, revealing the essence of who we truly are. It is in this space that we can reconnect with our deepest desires, our truest self, and the divine spark within us. We are reminded that we are not separate from the divine, we are an expression of it. We carry within us the same creative force that moves through the universe. In silence, we realize that we are both the creator and the creation, inseparable from the divine energy that flows through all things. In these moments of stillness, we also learn to trust the divine presence within us. Just as the universe moves in its cycles, birth and death, growth and decay, there is a rhythm to life that we are a part of. Silence helps us align with this rhythm, helping us to trust that we are exactly where we need to be in this moment. Whether we are facing challenges or experiencing joy, we come to understand that the divine is always present, working through us, guiding us, and shaping us into the people we are meant to become. Silence becomes not just a space to hear the divine, but also a space to receive divine love, divine wisdom, and divine presence. When we connect with the divine through silence, we open ourselves to healing, both physical and spiritual. In the stillness, we are able to release the burdens that weigh us down, the anxiety, the fear, the guilt, the pain. We offer them up to the divine, trusting that in the silence we will find renewal. It is in this sacred space that we are able to release old wounds, forgive ourselves and others, and make room for new life. Silence, in this sense, becomes a healing balm, soothing our troubled hearts and restoring our connection to the source of all life. The connection with the divine is about remembering who we are in the grand scheme of existence. It is about knowing that we are part of something far larger than ourselves, yet at the same time deeply connected to it. Silence creates a sacred space where we can reconnect with that divine essence, where we can listen, reflect, and allow ourselves to be guided by a force that is infinitely greater and wiser than we can comprehend. It is in this silence that we find peace, purpose, and a deep sense of belonging to the divine flow of life. Listening is an art, a skill that goes far beyond hearing the words that are spoken. True listening requires more than just our ears. It calls upon our full presence, our attention, and our capacity to understand what is being communicated, not only in the words, but in the unspoken. In a world that often values speaking over listening, we may overlook the profound power that comes from truly hearing. It's not just about receiving information, it's about connecting on a deeper level. Understanding not only what is said, but why it's said, and sensing what is left unsaid. This deeper form of listening is a language unto itself, one that can foster connection, empathy, and understanding in ways that words alone never could. To listen deeply is to move beyond the surface of the conversation. We may hear the words, but true listening requires us to hear the emotions, the intentions, and the meaning behind them. People speak not just to convey facts, but to share a part of themselves, their thoughts, their fears, their hopes, their pain. To truly listen is to honor that deeper truth, to receive what is being communicated, not just with the intellect, but with the heart. It is a listening that does not rush to judgment or interrupt, but that takes the time to fully absorb and understand the message. This kind of listening is not passive. It is an active, engaged process that requires focus and intention. In our busy lives, we are often distracted, thinking ahead to our next response or already forming opinions before the other person has finished speaking. But listening at a deeper level requires us to silence our own internal chatter, to put aside our personal biases and judgments, and to be fully present with the person before us. It means suspending our need to fix, advise us, or solve, and simply offering the gift of our full attention. The language of listening also involves hearing beyond words. Often what is most important is not what is said, But what is left unsaid, the silence between the words, the body language, the tone of voice, the gestures, and the energy that flows beneath the surface of the conversation. These nonverbal cues carry a depth of meaning that words alone cannot capture. For instance, someone may say, "I'm fine," but their body language, their tone, or their eyes may reveal something entirely different. True listening means paying attention to the whole of the message, the spoken and the unspoken, and allowing ourselves to respond to both. In listening, we become mirrors for others. We reflect back to them not just their words, but their feelings, their truths. When someone speaks and we listen with true attention, we mirror their emotions and thoughts, helping them to feel seen and heard. This kind of listening creates a space where people can open up, where they feel safe enough to express their deepest concerns, vulnerabilities, and desires. It invites trust and fosters a sense of connection that cannot be easily created through speaking alone. By listening deeply, we affirm the value of the other person, showing them that their voice matters, that their story is important. Listening is also a key element in developing empathy. To listen deeply is to step into another person's shoes, to try to understand their perspective and their experience. It is easy to jump to conclusions or to offer solutions when we think we know what someone needs, but true empathy requires us to listen without assuming. We must open our hearts to understand what they are going through, not from our own point of view, but from theirs. In those moments of deep listening, we become more compassionate, more connected, and more attuned to the struggles and joys of others. This empathy builds trust, strengthens relationships, and creates an environment where mutual understanding can thrive. The language of listening also involves a degree of patience. In a world that often seeks quick answers and fast solutions, listening invites us to slow down. It encourages us to take our time, to resist the impulse to interrupt or finish someone's thoughts for them, and to sit with the silence when it arises. It is in this space of silence that the deeper truths can often be uncovered. The pause between words can give both the speaker and the listener time to reflect, to gather their thoughts, and to go deeper into the conversation. Silence is not a void, it is a powerful part of the dialogue. It allows both people to process, to breathe, and to invite deeper understanding. When we listen with intention, we also listen to ourselves. Listening is not only an external act, it's an internal one as well. In deep listening, we become attuned to our own thoughts, emotions, and inner responses. We begin to hear the subtle messages that our hearts and minds are trying to communicate to us, helping us to better understand our own desires, fears, and aspirations. Listening to others with openness and presence also invites us to listen to the truth within us, guiding us to become more self-aware and more conscious in our interactions. The language of listening also requires us to be free from judgment. Often when we listen to someone, we are simultaneously evaluating or analyzing what they are saying. We may be quick to judge their actions or their opinions, particularly when they differ from our own. But true listening requires us to suspend judgment, to simply receive what is being said without labeling it as right or wrong, good or bad. It is about accepting the speaker for who they are, understanding that their perspective is valid and important, even if we don't always agree with it. By doing so, we create a safe space for dialogue where people feel accepted and respected, regardless of their opinions or beliefs. As we listen deeply, we also learn to listen to the silence. The quiet moments between words can carry as much weight as the spoken ones. Sometimes it is in the silence that the most profound insights emerge. It is in the pause that we reflect on what has been said and allow it to sink in. Silence in a conversation can also create space for the other person to think, to feel, and to articulate what might be difficult to express in words. Listening to the silence gives us a deeper appreciation for what is unspoken, allowing us to receive the fullness of the exchange. The language of listening is a language of presence. It is about being fully engaged in the moment, without distractions or preconceptions. It is about creating a space of openness and receptivity where connection can happen on a deeper level. Listening is not about gathering information to use later or waiting for our turn to speak. It is about offering the gift of our full attention and our presence to another person. It is through listening that we build bridges of understanding, cultivate empathy, and create a deeper, more authentic connection with those around us. Silence, in its truest form, is not merely the absence of sound, it is a powerful weapon of strength. In a world that often equates noise with power, where the loudest voices, the most outspoken, the most dominant personalities seem to carry the most influence, silence is often underestimated. Yet silence is not weakness, it is a profound tool of inner strength. One that has the power to diffuse conflict, provide clarity, and command respect in ways that words alone cannot. In moments of chaos, when emotions run high and tensions flare, silence becomes an act of restraint. Rather than responding impulsively or reacting out of anger or frustration, choosing silence in the face of provocation is a demonstration of emotional mastery. It is a conscious decision to hold space, to resist the urge to engage in a battle of words that may only escalate the situation. In silence, we stand firm not by fighting, but by refusing to be swept up in the emotional storm around us. This is where true strength lies, in the ability to remain calm, to control our reactions, and to choose when and how we engage. Silence is also a powerful weapon in moments of disagreement or conflict. Often when two people are at odds, the temptation is to speak louder, to argue more passionately, or to defend our position with greater force. But silence has the ability to shift the dynamic of a conversation. In the presence of silence, the energy of the conflict dissipates. The person who is speaking in anger or frustration is left with their own words, and in that stillness they may begin to question their stance or realize that their emotions were driving them more than their reason. Silence holds the power to disrupt the cycle of escalation, offering a space for reflection and self-correction. It compels others to pause, to reconsider their own words and actions, and in doing so it fosters the possibility of resolution. Silence as a weapon of strength lies in its ability to give us space for clarity. When we are overwhelmed by noise, whether that's external noise from the world around us or the internal noise of our thoughts, it can be difficult to see things clearly. Decisions become clouded, judgments become skewed, and we risk being led by impulses rather than wisdom. Silence, however, provides the clarity we need to cut through the confusion. It is in the quiet that we reconnect with our deeper sense of purpose and insight. In the absence of distractions, we are able to listen to our intuition, to reflect on the situation at hand, and to make decisions that are aligned with our highest good. This kind of clarity is not rushed or forced. It arises naturally in the stillness of the mind and heart. In addition, silence as a weapon of strength is not just about personal restraint, but also about commanding respect from others. In situations where we might otherwise feel the need to defend ourselves, explain ourselves, or justify our actions, silence has a way of shifting the power dynamic. When we do not respond immediately or feel the need to over-explain, we create an air of mystery, of confidence. People begin to realize that we do not need to seek validation or approval, that we are anchored in our own sense of truth. Silence in this context conveys a quiet authority. It communicates that we are not intimidated, that we stand firm in our beliefs, and that we do not need to fill the air with words to assert our worth. Silence also strengthens our capacity to listen. In a world that often prioritizes speaking and sharing opinions, the act of truly listening is rare. Yet listening is a powerful form of strength. When we choose silence in conversation, we open ourselves to hearing others more deeply without the need to interrupt, correct, or interject. In doing so, we gain insight into the perspectives, emotions, and motivations of others. This not only strengthens our relationships, but it also enhances our ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. By listening without speaking, we give others the opportunity to express themselves fully, and in return, we are given the gift of understanding. In relationships, silence is often a tool of protection, both for ourselves and for others. In moments of emotional intensity, saying the wrong thing can cause irreparable harm. In these moments, silence is a shield, a way to protect the relationship from unnecessary damage. Rather than speaking in anger or frustration, we choose to hold our peace, allowing time and space for emotions to settle. This silence acts as a safeguard, preventing words that could hurt or create regret. In this way, silence allows us to preserve both our integrity and our connection with others. In personal growth, silence is a way to cultivate inner strength. It is a practice of introspection, where we turn inward to understand ourselves more deeply. In moments of silence, we confront our fears, our doubts, and our insecurities, not by avoiding them, but by facing them head-on. Silence allows us to strip away the noise of the world and examine our own inner landscape with honesty and courage. It is through this internal dialogue that we grow, that we develop resilience, and that we build the strength to move forward in life with greater purpose and confidence. Another profound aspect of silence is its ability to foster peace. In the midst of a turbulent world, silence is the foundation upon which inner peace is built. By intentionally creating silence in our lives, we cultivate a sense of calm and centeredness that cannot be disturbed by external chaos. This peace becomes a source of strength, because when we are at peace within ourselves, we are less vulnerable to the turbulence around us. Silence in this way becomes an anchor, anchoring us in our own truth, in our own sense of self, and in the quiet strength that flows from being in harmony with our own soul. Silence also serves as a means of power in the pursuit of purpose. Often we are distracted by external expectations, by the noise of societal pressure, or by the opinions of others. These distractions can lead us to question our path or lose sight of our true purpose. But in the silence, we find the clarity to reconnect with our mission. In moments of stillness, we hear the voice of our purpose more clearly, we understand what we are meant to do, and we gather the strength to pursue it with resolve. Silence allows us to hear the quiet calling of our soul, to follow the inner guidance that aligns us with our highest purpose. It is through silence that we discern the next step, without the interference of external voices or distractions. Ultimately, silence is not passive, it is an active force of strength. It requires courage to remain silent when the world expects us to speak, to remain calm when others expect us to react. It is a choice to engage with life on our own terms, not to be swept away by the noise, but to stand firm in the power of our own presence. Silence allows us to cut through the noise of life and connect with our true selves, offering clarity, strength, and peace in a world that is often chaotic. When we learn to wield silence as a weapon of strength, we discover an inner power that cannot be shaken, a power that comes from knowing when to speak and, more importantly, when to remain silent. Silence has a unique power to build respect, often in ways that words or actions alone cannot. In a world that constantly demands attention, where people are often judged by how loudly they speak or how aggressively they express their views, silence becomes a tool of quiet strength and dignified presence. It is through silence that we assert our own value, command the respect of others, and create an environment where mutual consideration can thrive. In choosing silence, we are not withdrawing from the world, but rather standing firm in our own sense of self-worth, showing that we do not need to shout, argue, or push to be heard or valued. When we choose silence, particularly in situations where emotions are high or where we are being provoked, we demonstrate emotional intelligence and control. In these moments, we resist the urge to engage in conflict or to let our reactions dictate the tone of the interaction. Rather than reacting impulsively, we allow space for clarity and reflection. This restraint often commands the respect of those around us. People notice when we do not immediately react to provocation or criticism. It speaks volumes about our character and the depth of our self-control. The strength of silence is that it allows us to remain unshaken, unmoved by the impulses of the moment. And this calmness earns the respect of others, even if they may not fully understand the reasons behind our silence. In situations of conflict, silence often acts as a powerful way to stop escalation. The world tends to escalate issues through words, arguments grow louder, misunderstandings deepen, and frustration builds. But silence interrupts that pattern. When we choose to remain silent rather than feed into a dispute, we create space for the other person to reflect on their own words and emotions. This is not an avoidance of the situation, but rather a conscious decision to hold our ground and allow the tension to subside naturally. In this silence, we are not saying that the issue is unimportant. Rather, we are demonstrating that we will not be dragged into a meaningless exchange that only serves to increase tension. This quiet strength is often more respected than engaging in a futile back and forth. In relationships, whether personal or professional, silence plays an equally important role in building respect. Sometimes, silence is the most respectful response we can offer. It allows others to have the space to speak their truth, share their thoughts, and process their emotions without the pressure of our immediate response. In choosing silence, we honor their voice and create an environment where they feel heard, even if we are not speaking. This is a profound form of respect, because it acknowledges that someone's thoughts, emotions, and needs are important enough to be given the full attention of our presence. By listening deeply, even in silence, we allow them to express themselves fully, which in turn builds respect for us as someone who is attentive and considerate. Silence builds respect by signaling that we are not desperate for validation or approval. In many social contexts, people speak loudly or excessively in order to be noticed, to be seen as important, or to have their opinions validated. Yet, when we remain silent, we demonstrate that we do not need to seek attention in order to feel valuable. Our presence alone, without the need for constant verbal reinforcement, conveys a quiet dignity that others cannot help but respect. It communicates that we are secure in who we are and that our worth is not contingent on external approval. In this way, silence becomes a statement of self-respect, one that encourages others to respect us in turn. Silence enables us to observe and learn more about others, which is crucial in building respect. When we choose to listen, rather than speak, we gain insight into the thoughts, feelings, and motivations of the people around us. In doing so, we gain a deeper understanding of their needs, desires, and struggles. This insight is invaluable because it allows us to engage with others in a more thoughtful, considerate way. We become more attuned to their needs, more empathetic to their struggles, and more aligned in our interactions with them. The ability to listen and observe often without the need to speak builds respect because it shows that we value the perspectives and experiences of others. People tend to respect those who make an effort to understand them, who show a genuine interest in their point of view, and who are not quick to dominate a conversation or impose their own agenda. In leadership, silence has power to command respect in ways that active communication sometimes cannot. A good leader knows that their actions speak louder than their words, and silence is an integral part of that. When a leader remains silent in the face of a challenging situation, it allows them to assess the situation more objectively and make thoughtful, informed decisions. This level of composure conveys confidence and authority. Leaders who speak less but with more intention are often seen as more respected than those who speak constantly without considering the impact of their words. Silence in leadership signals that the leader is in control not of others, but of themselves. It shows that they are not caught up in the noise of the moment but are anchored in their purpose, vision, and values. This presence of mind and calmness under pressure is a hallmark of respected leaders who inspire trust and admiration. Silence also builds respect by allowing us to maintain our boundaries. In a world that often pressures people to speak, to explain, or to justify their decisions, silence becomes a tool of self-protection. When we choose not to respond to every question or demand, we assert our right to personal space, privacy, and autonomy. We communicate that we do not owe anyone an explanation for our choices, and we do not feel compelled to share everything about ourselves. This kind of boundary setting through silence fosters mutual respect because it establishes clear lines of communication and interaction, showing others that we value our own space and are not afraid to protect it. At the same time, it encourages others to respect their own boundaries as well, creating a culture of mutual respect. In silence, we also find the opportunity to build respect by reflecting on our own actions. By practicing moments of quiet introspection, we gain clarity about our own behavior, our own needs, and the way we interact with others. Silence allows us to step back and evaluate whether our actions are aligned with our values and whether we are acting with integrity. This self-awareness strengthens our ability to navigate relationships with respect because we can act with more intentionality, kindness, and wisdom. When we are mindful of how we show up in the world, our silence becomes a reflection of our commitment to being respectful, authentic, and compassionate in all of our interactions. Silence builds respect because it reflects an inner strength and confidence that is not dependent on external validation. It demonstrates a deep understanding of ourselves and others, an awareness of the power of presence over words, and a commitment to fostering genuine connection without the need for constant affirmation. Silence, far from being passive or disengaged, is an active force that allows us to navigate the world with dignity, emotional control, and an unwavering sense of self-respect. When we choose silence, we are not retreating from the world, but are engaging with it from a place of profound strength, clarity, and respect for both ourselves and those around us. Silence in leadership is a powerful tool that many leaders often overlook or underestimate. While the world often places value on the loudest voices, the most charismatic personalities, and the most frequent speakers, there is an undeniable strength in the leader who knows when to remain silent. Silence in leadership is not about retreating or avoiding responsibility. It is about choosing to pause, reflect, and respond with intention. This silence serves as a foundation for thoughtfulness, clarity, and emotional intelligence, enabling leaders to make decisions that are more aligned with their values and the needs of their teams. In leadership, silence can be a way to cultivate the space needed for careful reflection. In moments of pressure, when quick decisions are expected, it is easy for leaders to jump in with immediate answers or solutions. However, taking a moment of silence allows for deeper thought, a chance to weigh all options and consider the long-term consequences of any given action. When leaders make decisions in haste or under pressure, they risk overlooking important details or reacting out of emotion, rather than strategy. Silence provides an opportunity to step back and respond from a place of wisdom, not impulse. It allows leaders to avoid making decisions that they might regret, and instead approach challenges with a calm, measured mindset that fosters respect and trust within the team. Silence also plays a critical role in a leader's ability to listen effectively. Leadership is not just about giving orders or making decisions. It is about understanding the needs, concerns, and ideas of the people being led. Silence enables leaders to step out of the spotlight and focus on listening, truly listening to their team members. By holding back from speaking, leaders can hear not only the words, but also the emotions and underlying messages in what others are saying. This level of attentive listening allows leaders to gather valuable insights, identify emerging issues, and gauge the mood and morale of the team. When team members feel heard, they are more likely to feel valued and respected, which in turn boosts morale and fosters loyalty. Silence, in this case, becomes a tool for connection, building trust, and creating a culture of openness within the organization. In times of conflict or tension, silence becomes a powerful weapon for resolution. Leaders often face moments when emotions run high, when opinions clash, or when team members are deeply divided. In these instances, the temptation for a leader is often to step in and immediately using words to soothe, correct, or dictate a solution. Yet, sometimes the most powerful thing a leader can do is remain silent. This silence offers space for the individuals involved to process their emotions, reflect on their own positions, and begin to approach the situation from a calmer, more rational perspective. When a leader remains silent, it can diffuse the intensity of a conflict, allowing the team to pause and regroup before responding. This strategic silence demonstrates patience and emotional control, qualities that inspire respect and admiration from those being led. Silence helps leaders avoid the trap of over-explaining or micromanaging. A leader who speaks too much or feels compelled to explain every decision risks undermining their own authority. By contrast, a leader who knows when to remain silent sends a clear message that they trust their team's capabilities and judgment. Leaders who speak less but with greater purpose and clarity tend to gain more respect because their words carry weight. Silence here communicates confidence in the abilities of others rather than a desire to control or direct every move. It also allows for more space for others to contribute ideas, solve problems, and take ownership of their roles, which fosters a sense of empowerment and autonomy within the team. In this way, silence in leadership helps to develop stronger, more self-reliant teams. Another critical aspect of silence in leadership is the example it sets for others. Leaders are not just managers of tasks, they are models for the culture they want to create. When leaders remain silent in moments of high tension, they set a standard for calmness, composure, and emotional regulation that others will likely adopt. In situations where emotions are high or stress levels are rising, the leader's silence provides a moment of reflection for the team to follow suit. This is particularly true when a leader refrains from reacting to every minor issue or disturbance, instead choosing to remain composed and patient. Their silence communicates that panicking, reacting hastily, or rushing to a solution is not the desired response. Leaders who model silence show others that they are not controlled by external pressure, but are grounded in their own values and judgment. This silent strength becomes contagious, creating a ripple effect that influences the entire team. Silence also fosters respect in leadership because it demonstrates the leader's ability to practice humility. In a world where leaders are often expected to have all the answers, choosing silence can signal that a leader is open to learning, is willing to admit when they don't have the solution, and is receptive to the input of others. Humility in leadership is one of the most respected qualities, and silence often accompanies this trait. By not rushing to offer an answer or solution, a leader shows that they recognize the collective wisdom of their team and are willing to feed, and are willing to seek input or defer to others when appropriate. This silence is not a sign of weakness, it is a sign of strength and self-awareness. Leaders who practice humility through silence often create an environment where others feel more comfortable contributing their ideas, knowing that their voices are valued. Furthermore, silence is essential for maintaining the focus of a team. In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get caught up in the constant flurry of meetings, emails, and conversations. Leaders who talk excessively or constantly share their thoughts can inadvertently dilute the focus of their team, creating noise that makes it harder for others to concentrate or think clearly. Silence, on the other hand, creates a space for reflection and deep focus. By not speaking unnecessarily, a leader preserves the mental bandwidth of their team, allowing individuals to focus on their work, on their ideas, and on their tasks without being constantly interrupted or influenced by the leader's voice. This quiet space fosters productivity and creativity, enabling the team to think more critically and independently. In times of uncertainty, silence in leadership also signals steadiness and resilience. When a leader remains calm and composed without panicking or over-communicating during moments of crisis or change, it instills confidence in the team. The team members begin to trust that the leader is capable of navigating uncertainty with strength and clarity. Silence in this context does not signify a lack of direction, but rather the leader's ability to provide thoughtful guidance in the midst of turbulence. When a leader does speak in such moments, their words are far more powerful because they come from a place of measured insight and calm reasoning, having been carefully considered in silence. Silence in leadership is also a reflection of integrity. It is an understanding that not every thought, idea, or feeling needs to be spoken aloud. Leaders who speak constantly risk undermining their own credibility, as their words may lose weight or significance. Silence shows that a leader knows when to speak and when to remain quiet. It allows their words to carry more authority and their actions to be more powerful, but they are backed by a deep understanding of the situation. A leader who remains silent when it is necessary demonstrates that they are not interested in drawing attention to themselves, but in serving the greater good and ensuring that their decisions are made thoughtfully and with purpose. In the end, silence in leadership is not a passive absence, but an active and intentional choice. It is a sign of strength, confidence, and clarity. It allows leaders to listen deeply, reflect carefully, and act with purpose. It demonstrates emotional intelligence and the ability to remain composed under pressure, setting a standard for others to follow. Silence is one of the most potent tools a leader can use to build trust, command respect, and create a culture of thoughtfulness, focus, and empowerment. When wielded with intention, silence becomes a form of leadership that goes beyond words and actions. It becomes a reflection of the leader's character and their commitment to leading with wisdom and integrity. Silence holds a unique and often overlooked power when it comes to the process of restoration and renewal. In a world that constantly pushes for action, noise, and immediate results, the quiet moments of stillness are the ones that nurture our deepest healing and growth. Restoration is not just about returning to a previous state, but about emerging stronger, clearer, and more aligned with our true purpose. Renewal is not a simple recharging of energy, but a profound transformation that occurs when we allow ourselves the space to reset, reflect, and realign. Silence, in this sense, becomes the fertile ground in which the seeds of renewal are planted and nurtured. When we find ourselves overwhelmed by life's demands, whether they are professional pressures, personal challenges, or emotional turmoil, silence acts as a balm, soothing the noise of the external world and the internal chatter of our minds. In silence, we step away from the constant hum of distractions and the relentless pull of responsibilities. We create an environment where we can listen not to the noise around us, but to the quiet whispers within. This retreat into silence is not an escape, but an act of reclaiming our inner space. It is a conscious decision to stop, to pause, and to create a boundary between the world's demands and our own need for reflection and healing. In those moments of silence, something profound happens. We begin to reconnect with ourselves. The noise of daily life often drowns out our inner voice, our intuition, and the deeper parts of our being that hold the wisdom and guidance we need for growth. It is only in the silence that we can hear that voice clearly again. When we strip away the distractions and the constant motion, we allow ourselves to simply be. In this beingness, we come into contact with parts of ourselves that may have been neglected or silenced for too long. The restoration process is not always a loud, dramatic event. Often it is a quiet unfolding that occurs gradually as we reconnect with who we are and what we truly need. In silence, we find the space to release the burdens we've been carrying, whether they are old wounds, unmet expectations, or unhealthy patterns of thought and behavior. This release is not about forgetting the past or avoiding painful emotions. Rather, it is about acknowledging what has been, accepting it, and then letting it go. The act of letting go is deeply restorative because it frees up space for something new to emerge. When we hold on too tightly to past pain or unresolved issues, we become stagnant. We carry that weight with us, and it prevents us from moving forward. Silence creates a container for this release, offering us the emotional and mental space to unload the things that no longer serve us, clearing the path for healing and renewal to take place. This process of letting go in silence also allows us to reset our emotional and mental states. In the constant noise of life, it is easy to become overwhelmed, disoriented, or disconnected from our true feelings. We may find ourselves running on autopilot, reacting to life's demands without truly processing our emotions or understanding our own needs. Silence offers a refuge where we can slow down and tune into what is truly happening inside. It allows us to check in with ourselves, to evaluate where we are, and to discern what we need to restore balance to our lives. This self-reflection in silence helps us to assess our emotional landscape, acknowledging any lingering pain, confusion, or fear. It is through this quiet introspection that we are able to heal and reset, bringing our emotions back into alignment with our highest good. And renewal, however, is not just about healing old wounds, it is about transformation. It is the process of shedding old layers and emerging as a more refined version of ourselves. Silence serves as the crucible for this transformation, offering a space where we can cultivate new insights, new ways of thinking, and new perspectives. In the stillness, we can question old beliefs, outdated goals, and limiting assumptions. We can challenge ourselves to grow, to expand, and to embrace new possibilities. Silence allows us to let go of the old so that we can make room for the new. It is also in the quiet moments that we often discover the clarity we need to move forward. When we are constantly surrounded by noise, whether it's the demands of work, the voices of others, or even the noise in our own minds, our path can become clouded. We may struggle to see the next step or to discern what we truly want. In silence, the fog begins to lift. We gain clarity about what is important to us, what we need to focus on, and where our energy should be directed. This clarity is essential for renewal because it allows us to move forward with purpose and intention. We are no longer merely reacting to life's circumstances, but are actively choosing the direction we want to take. In addition to mental and emotional renewal, silence also fosters physical restoration. In our busy lives, we often push our bodies to the limit, ignoring the subtle signals of fatigue, stress, or strain. Silence offers the opportunity to slow down and listen to our physical needs. By stepping away from the noise and the rush, we give our bodies the space to rest and recover. We may realize in the stillness that we need more sleep, more nourishment, or more care. This physical restoration is a critical part of the renewal process, as it enables us to feel re-energized and ready to take on the challenges of life with greater vitality. Silence, in this sense, is both a tool and a gift. It is a tool because it allows us to reset, reflect, and release. It is a gift because it grants us the time and space to connect with our innermost selves and to make the conscious decision to heal and grow. In silence, we are given the opportunity to step away from the distractions and the noise of the world and to return to our center. It is in this return to our center that we can find the strength to rebuild, to renew, and to restore ourselves. The process of restoration and renewal is not something that happens in a single moment, but rather over time. It is a journey that unfolds gradually, often without fanfare or external recognition. Silence serves as the vehicle for this journey, guiding us inward so that we can heal from the inside out. It allows us to process our past, gain insight into our present, and create a vision for our future. Through silence, we become more in tune with ourselves, more connected to our purpose, and more aligned with the life we are meant to live. In the stillness, we also begin to recognize that restoration and renewal are ongoing processes, not one-time events. Life constantly presents us with opportunities for growth, for healing, and for transformation. Silence helps us to embrace these moments as they arise, offering us the space to reflect, to adapt, and to evolve. With each period of silence, we become more attuned to the rhythms of life, learning to navigate the cycles of rest, growth, and renewal with grace and wisdom. Silence is a sanctuary for restoration and renewal. It is where healing begins, where clarity emerges, and where transformation takes root. In a world that often values constant motion and noise, silence offers a rare and sacred opportunity to pause, reflect, and allow ourselves to be restored. Through silence, we reconnect with our inner strength, our clarity of purpose, and our capacity for growth, allowing us to move forward with renewed energy, focus, and intention. The freedom of silence is an often underestimated yet profoundly liberating concept. In a world dominated by constant communication, rapid responses, and the pressure to be always engaged, silence offers a unique and rare kind of freedom. It is a freedom that transcends the usual definitions of liberty. We often think of freedom in terms of external circumstances, freedom from oppression, freedom of choice, or freedom from limitation. But the freedom that silence provides is a deep, internal liberation that allows us to escape the noise, chaos, and expectations of the outside world and to reconnect with ourselves in a way that few other experiences can offer. At its core, silence offers the freedom to be fully present in the moment. We live in a time where distractions are constant, phones buzzing, emails flooding our inboxes, social media pulling at our attention. The pressure to always be available, always be in communication, and always be on alert can be overwhelming. But when we embrace silence, we step outside of this cycle. Silence allows us to detach from the external noise and gives us the ability to focus on what truly matters. In silence, we can be fully present with our thoughts, our feelings, and the moment at hand. We are not rushing from one thing to the next, caught up in the frantic pace of life. Instead, we are free to simply be, to think deeply, and to experience life without interruption. This presence of mind and absence of distraction gives us the clarity to make better decisions, connect more authentically with others, and engage more meaningfully with the world around us. Silence also offers the freedom of choice in how we respond to the world. So often we feel pressured to speak, to respond, or to offer our opinions in every conversation or situation. But silence provides the freedom to choose whether or not we want to engage at all. We no longer feel compelled to fill every silence with words or to offer an opinion when it is not needed. This freedom allows us to step back, reflect, and decide if and how we wish to contribute. It is a choice that places us in a position of power. Rather than being swept away by the currents of external demands, we are able to choose our actions, our words, and our energy. This autonomy in our responses creates a sense of control over our lives and, in turn, a deeper sense of freedom. In silence, we also experience the freedom of self-expression, but in a different way than what we are accustomed to. While speaking is one form of expression, silence allows us to express ourselves without the need for words. Our presence, our energy, and even our stillness can communicate volumes. Silence creates space for us to express our thoughts and emotions without needing to justify or explain them. There is power in the unspoken. When we are silent, we can convey our thoughts through gestures, actions, or even through the mere act of being present. This non-verbal expression is often more authentic and genuine than words, which can sometimes be shaped by external expectations or the need to perform. Silence gives us the freedom to communicate our truth in ways that go beyond language, allowing for a deeper, more profound form of self-expression. Silence also offers the freedom to disconnect and to take control of our own mental and emotional space. In a world where external influences, social media, news, the opinions of others constantly invade our consciousness, silence serves us as a sanctuary. It allows us to take a step back, free from the bombardment of information and opinions that shape our worldview. In silence, we can reclaim our mental autonomy. We no longer have to be constantly plugged into the noise and demands of the outside world. We can choose when and how we engage and when we need to step back and disconnect. This is a profound freedom, as it allows us to protect our peace of mind and preserve our emotional well-being. In a world that demands constant interaction and stimulation, silence offers us the freedom to be in control of our own mental and emotional landscape. In addition to internal freedom, silence also provides freedom from the judgments and expectations of others. We are often guided by the need to conform, to please others, or to live up to societal standards. Whether it's the pressure to be constantly productive, to speak up in every situation, or to engage in certain social behaviors, these external expectations can limit our freedom and shape our identity in ways that feel restrictive. Silence offers a sanctuary from these pressures. By choosing silence, we are able to remove ourselves from the judgmental gaze of others. We are free to exist without the need for validation or approval. This kind of freedom is incredibly empowering because it allows us to reconnect with our authentic selves, to live according to our own principles, and to break free from the need to conform to external standards. Silence offers the freedom to reflect, which is essential for personal growth and transformation. In the hustle of daily life, it's easy to get caught up in the doing, constantly running from task to task, meeting to meeting, and interaction to interaction. In such a fast-paced environment, we rarely have the opportunity to reflect on our actions, our decisions, or our path forward. Silence creates a space for this reflection. It allows us to step out of the whirlwind of life and take a moment to pause, to look inward, and to evaluate where we are. In that stillness, we gain clarity on what is truly important to us, what we want to achieve, and where we need to change or grow. Silence is the fertile ground for self-awareness and understanding, providing the freedom to chart a course for personal evolution that is in alignment with our deepest values. The freedom of silence also extends to our relationships with others. In many ways, silence allows us to cultivate deeper connections. In the quiet moments, we are free to listen, to really listen without the pressure to speak or offer advice. Listening is one of the most powerful forms of communication, yet it requires us to be silent. In these moments of deep listening, we create the space for others to express themselves authentically. We free them from the fear of being misunderstood or judged, allowing them to speak their truth. In this way, silence fosters a level of intimacy and understanding that is not possible in conversations dominated by words. It allows for a level of empathy and connection that can be felt more deeply than words can express. Silence offers the ultimate freedom, the freedom to simply be. In our world, we are often caught in a cycle of doing, producing, performing, and achieving. But silence allows us to be without the need to do anything or prove anything. It allows us to exist without expectations or obligations. In these moments of stillness, we are free from the need to justify our existence or to measure our worth by external achievements. We simply are. And in that beingness, we experience a sense of freedom that cannot be found in the constant doing of life. The freedom of silence is a profound liberation that touches every aspect of our being. It frees us from the distractions of the world, the judgments of others, and the pressure to perform or conform. It gives us the space to reconnect with ourselves, to listen deeply to others, and to express ourselves authentically. In silence, we find the freedom to reflect, to grow, and to simply exist. It is a freedom that is both internal and external, both personal and relational, and it is one of the most valuable gifts we can give ourselves in a noisy, demanding world. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, but a powerful force that holds the key to our freedom, our growth, and our transformation. It is in silence that we discover the true depth of our being, free from the distractions and demands of the outside world. It is in silence that we find clarity, make intentional choices, and listen to the whispers of our hearts and minds. Silence allows us to disconnect from the noise, release the burdens we carry, and reconnect with our true purpose and strength. When we embrace silence, we step into a space of freedom, freedom to be present, freedom to choose, freedom to listen, and freedom to express ourselves in ways that words alone cannot capture. Silence empowers us to reclaim our inner peace, our mental autonomy, and our emotional well-being. It gives us the strength to be still, to reflect, and to renew, allowing us to move forward with greater clarity, focus, and purpose. So let us not fear silence. Let us welcome it, for it is in those quiet moments that we unlock the true power within us. In silence, we find the freedom to be who we are meant to be, without the need for validation, without the pressure to conform. Let silence be our guide, our refuge, and our strength as we navigate the noise of the world, knowing that in its stillness lies our greatest freedom and our highest potential. Remember, sometimes the most powerful words are the ones left unspoken, and the most profound actions are the ones done in the quiet of our hearts. Embrace the freedom of silence, for in it, you will find the clarity and strength to rise above the noise and become the person you are truly meant to be.